Alright, so I'm going to make some sauce. I guess it may technically also be termed gravy for what I'm going to be doing here to go with supper tonight. So what I've got here is some beef drippings. Made some steak a few days ago. It was too cold out, I didn't want to grill it outside, so I grilled it in the oven on my on this thing here, on my griddle. Well, you see I didn't clean it yet. And I saved the drippings so I can use them in sauces or gravy or whatever. I've got another thing of drippings here that I can see it's from 2006. I canned it up. It's deer drippings. It's very clear. I don't know if you can see that, although I've mixed up the sediment in it, and there's a layer of fat on the top. That's what happens when you can up drippings. The fat comes to the top. I'm going to use this in my beef drippings. The fat is important for the sauce that I'm making. I'm going to make a roux first. So that was canned a little over 4 years ago. It's still going to be perfectly fine. Did you hear that pop when that came off? That is perfectly canned. Although it's getting to the limit of its life, it still smells fantastic. Oh man, that is good smelling deer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a simple roux. I'm going to turn that on first. Turn the stove on about 6. Nice thing about canning stuff up is you see the deer fat comes right off the top like that. I just pick it right off like a puck. I'm going to put that in there. And I'm going to put some flour in there and make a simple roux with I'll use my little whisk there for whisking around the roux. I may need, let me just get one here. Sometimes I find it's better to use a wooden spoon for a roux. Depends. Going to need some flour. Here's some flour that I've got here. I'll just take out a 1/4 cup. I don't know if I'll use it all or I might use more than that. We'll see. Just going to make a sauce to go with supper. We're going to have some fresh local asparagus. Oh yeah, speaking of which, speaking of fresh local asparagus, oh yeah, that's heating up nicely there. Turn it down a bit. I steamed some for lunch today. I just had a little snack and I got some of the water left over. You can see it's kind of green colored because even when you steam, the color comes down from the stuff you're steaming. I'm going to use that for extra liquid. Alright, so that is melting. I think I am going to use the wooden spoon. Melt up that deer fat. It's melting up nicely. It's got some particulate in there. That's not a big issue. I'm not too concerned about that. And I've got my 1/4 cup of stuff here. I'll just shake some in, whisk it around to dissolve it, and shake a bit more in. That's a 1/4 cup of flour. I don't know how much fat it was. It was 5 or 6 tablespoons maybe. 3 or 4 tablespoons actually, I would say. And this is making a roux. Very simple. I'll put the rest in. So it looks like it's going to take a whole 1/4 cup. And the roux is done when it starts getting solid like this. And then what you do is you start dissolving your other liquid in there. Put a little bit of liquid at a time. Get it dissolved evenly so there's no lumps in there, no lumps of flour. Nice and evenly dissolved. So this is going to make quite a bit of sauce. So the actual fat content per volume of sauce will be reasonably low. That wasn't a whole lot of fat to begin with, and this should make, oh, I'm guessing it's going to make about 750 milliliters to a liter of sauce. So I can can some up or freeze it in small mason jars afterwards. You can see it's like a it's very creamy, heavy creamy consistency at this point. I want to dissolve some more liquid in there. I'll start putting in the deer liquid a little bit at a time. Make sure it gets well uniformly dissolved with each addition. Now it's getting liquidy. It's no longer firm, creamy texture. It's very much a liquid at this point. I can probably turn that up to about 6 again because I'm going to be adding more and more liquid. I may not need that asparagus liquid. We'll see how it turns out. You only add liquid as required. May actually end up needing a bit more flour. We'll see. Now that it's really a light liquid, you want to let it come to a boil before you start adding too much more, because the flour will only thicken it as it boils. It's the sort of thing it requires the boiling action to thicken it. So at this point I think I'm going to switch to my trusty, we'll see, scraping it off the bottom with that. There's a little bit of flour stuck in the bottom, or a little bit of the roux actually stuck on the bottom. Alright, it's boiling now. Whoops, it's a little bit too high. I'm putting it back down to 4. It's boiling and it is thickening. It's actually turning into a fairly thick sauce now. So it's probably time to add a little bit more liquid. I'm just going to let it boil a little bit too long to the bottom of the pot. Fortunately it didn't burn. It did start to caramelize a bit, which is actually a good thing. That caramelization will add some nice flavors. But it's thickening up really nicely. Too thick for what I'm looking for in a sauce, so I'm going to add some more of the liquid. And it should come back up to the boil quickly enough. Boy, that's smelling really nice, just like that. It's just basically beef drippings and broth, and deer drippings and broth. I haven't added any salt or pepper yet. Let me try that. Oh man, that's really good, just with the deer and the beef flavors. Really nice. I have some of my own dehydrated onion here. It's onion that I put in my dehydrator, and then I put it in my food processor to make it into my own onion powder. I'm going to add a little bit of that in there, I believe. So we'll add, I don't know, that's probably a good teaspoon. Put that in there. Everybody likes a little bit of onion flavor. Even my boys who don't like onions per se, they love the flavor that it gives to things. So as long as you can hide it in a way that they won't actually see onions, they will love it. We're probably going to need a bit of salt in there. Oh, I don't know, a half a teaspoon of salt. Need some more liquid in there. I'll put the rest of my deer liquid in. See what we come up with. I think it will take some more liquid after that. If it continues to be very thick with just the deer and the beef liquid, then I will add some of my asparagus liquid. I don't expect that to actually give it any flavor, asparagus flavor. Even tasting the water doesn't taste of asparagus, but I don't know, I just hate to waste. That's got a little bit of the asparagus in it. I hate to waste stuff, so that's going to go in there too. Let that come back up to a boil again. I'll get some pepper in the meantime.